You know, we touched on some pretty interesting topics today, but this from Probstein is probably the shadiest thing they've done yet. Hey everyone, Dan the Cardman back again. Welcome to another weekly news video. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a regular, also welcome. I don't discriminate. Very glad to have you both here. But basically what these videos are, if you're new, is that on a weekly basis, I share my thoughts on some of the good things, the bad things, the ugly things that have happened within the hobby over the course of a week. Share my thoughts, like I said. Hopefully they make you more informed, so you can be aware of things that have happened within the hobby, and you don't get scammed by some of the dodgy people that are doing things. Just want to make this front of mind, basically. Now, as you saw in that intro, PROBSTEIN is going to be a key focal point. They've done some pretty dodgy things lately with putting things like likely trimmed in the auction titles, but one of my subscribers has flagged something pretty interesting to me. It's super dodgy, really dodgy shit that they're doing, as in PROBSTEIN, but I'll get to that at the end. We'll get started with a few other things first. So let's get cracking. Now, the first point I want to touch on is card porn. Now, if you don't follow them, I think you should. They're a pretty cool content creator on Instagram, generally bring things front of mind for people in the hobby, scammers, things like that, make you aware of basically what's happening. Now, I don't think they intended the way this post came out, but what this post ended up doing was that they appeared to be going after people that wanted to collect movie tickets, right? And they were saying it's dumb to collect movie tickets. They didn't use those words, but it was sort of like read between the lines sort of stuff. There's no market for it. You're going to get screwed if you buy them, right? Now, there's 2 points there. I've always found it a bit funny when people within the hobby look down on other collectors, right? If I collect sports cards, I'm not going to think you're a loser for collecting coins, as an example, right? I'm a collector. I understand the passion behind something to want to collect it, right? So if you are passionate about collecting coins, then I can appreciate that. I'm not going to judge you for that. So it's a bit strange how they sort of went at that angle and said there was no market for why would people want them. It's stupid, right? It's not like that's silly. Like if you can appreciate collecting cards, you can appreciate collecting something different, right? And if you want to collect movie tickets, or go right for it. Now, their other point was almost akin to there's no market for it, so you shouldn't collect it. Now, again, something doesn't need to be valuable for it to be collectible, right? If you collect something, you appreciate what it is, like especially with something like a movie ticket, right, where you went on a first date or something along those lines. It doesn't need to be valuable for it to be important, right? Now, I don't think that's what they meant by their post, and they've since apologized. They got grilled pretty hard by the hobby. It's pretty funny, actually. Probably not funny for them at the time, but it's pretty funny now. They got grilled really hard. A lot of people went after them, and probably rightfully so, because they were sort of making a mockery of people that were collecting sort of stuff. I think what they meant to do was that they thought these people were trying to pump and dump, which might be the case. These people might be doing that. And if that is the case, then it's good you've called them out. And I appreciate when card porn do stuff like that, because people that do pump and dump, we don't need within the hobby, because typically it's inexperienced collectors or kids that get ripped off, and it's not a nice thing to see. So I'm all for them calling that kind of stuff out, but their approach was a bit misguided. So I just thought I'd bring this front of mind for you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you collect movie tickets? Like, I collect sports tickets from when I was a kid. Movie tickets is a cool thing as well, especially if it was an important movie to you in your childhood, maybe. So keen to get your thoughts. I don't think they meant it the way they did, so maybe cut them some slack. But like I said, share your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's get chatting. Now, the second point I want to touch on is Gary V's Veefriends that were released through Fanatics Zero Cool range. Now, these were released about 2.5 weeks ago to much fanfare, to be fair. Like, prices of boxes and cards were like mental day one, right? And the messaging I want to try and give with this piece of news is that do not buy into FOMO, right? Do not buy into panic. And I've said this a few times in some of my tip videos before in the past. FOMO is a very dangerous thing. And obviously what's happened is these cards at launch were like 10 grand. I'm fairly certain they were shill bidded. Hopefully they're shill, I pray to God they're shill bidded actually. 10 grand, but now they're worth like a couple hundred. Now, happened with basically every card within this range. Now, like I said, the point I want to try and make is do not buy into FOMO. Now, if you truly believe in what Gary V's trying to do long term, you're a fan, whether you buy this card day 1 or day 100 doesn't mean anything to you if you're in this for day 1000, if you know what I mean. Because if you think it's going to be worth something in day 1000, the difference in profit between day 1 and day 100 is not going to mean anything to you, okay? You believe in something long term, doesn't matter when you buy in, it's going to be successful, right? So do not buy into FOMO, do not buy into that panic, because you obviously often get burned. And that's a pretty common sense thing, especially if you're someone like me that's been collecting things your whole life. But for those that are new and try and invest on the side or try to make plays, just be patient. If you're not patient, this is what can happen. You can be someone that's paid 12 grand to now only own something that's worth 600. And that's a really dangerous situation to be in. And I feel sorry for people that have been burned. But just remember, be patient, keep that front of mind. If you truly believe in something long term, it doesn't matter when you buy in, because you're going to make a profit if that's what you're trying to do long term. And it doesn't matter whether your profit's $100, $500, any profit's a good profit, right? It's obviously you want to try and maximize it, but If you believe in something long term, like I said, it doesn't matter when you buy in because you believe in it, you think it's going to do well. That's what matters most. Be prepared for the losses in that case, though, because plenty of times I believe in something, it doesn't go to plan, but I'm still happy because I believed in what I was collecting, so the loss didn't really matter to me. I do like to invest, as you guys know from my content, but collecting is front of mind for me on everything. Now, apologies, guys, I went on a coughing fit. I do have COVID, so I had to cut the video, but basically, the next point is going to be PROBSTEIN and this card that I showed in the weekly news video from last week. Now, this card has since sold. Now, this was one of those ones that I talked about that they said it was lightly trimmed in the title, which is a good thing, but on the others that are dodgy, they've said likely. The reason why I've called this out again is because it's actually met eBay's authenticity guarantee, as you can see here. Now, this is pretty curious because I'm not sure what's going to happen, and it's almost like a watch this space kind of thing that I touched on in my recent video that you can see down below. If eBay authenticate it, are they going to flag that it's trimmed on there? Which I think they need to do, right? Because if they don't and they give it to the buyer, that gives the buyer an opportunity to rip somebody else off, right? Because if it doesn't say it's trimmed and the person buying it doesn't do their research and find that this one is listed or on the recently sold on 130 point, as an example, what's going to happen? That person's going to get screwed over and it paints eBay in a bad light. So eBay have two options. Either don't authenticate it at all and they send it back to the seller because it's altered and trimmed, which I'm not sure if they're going to do because technically it meets the description, right? So they're almost like a can of worms. What I think eBay have to do through CSG is flag the card as trimmed on the satchel, on their seal. They need to do that. If they don't, I think a lot of people are going to be very unhappy with their service long term. So that's like a watch this space kind of thing. So keep an eye out for that to see what happens next. Now, the final point, and the one I touched on in the intro and really dodgy shit that's happening, to be honest, is this Scottie Pippen insert from the 90s. Now, obviously remember this from when I spoke about it. This was one of those cards, as you can see here, apologies for the cough again, but the card is likely trimmed. Now, I touched on this in the two recent videos, the one down below and the weekly news video from last week, that this is incredibly dodgy, right? Because if you're inclined to think a card is trimmed, so much so that you're going to list it in your auction title, you probably believe more that the card is trimmed than it's not, right? So it's pretty crap. They should just say it's trimmed in the title. They should say lightly trimmed like they did for the Trae Young. But they're not doing this for quite a lot of auctions, and it's really disingenuous. But that is really disingenuous. But what's even more dodgy is what they've done since the auction ended, right? Now, what's happened here, the auction is sold for a lot of money, about 7,000 USD. Now, a lot of people think this card is fake. So it's obviously going to be okay when it goes through the authenticity guarantee. But the thing they've done that's incredibly freaking dodgy, right? That my subscriber flagged to me is look at the title, right? You go back over here. SP, likely trimmed. SP, oh, it's blank. What happened? So it looks like they've changed the title of the auction post-ending. And that's incredibly freaking dodgy. There's another F word I want to use it. I'm trying to really restrain myself. Now, I sell a lot on eBay, and I always thought you couldn't change the title while there were bids on it or after it ended. So it looks like they've done it before it ended, maybe. I didn't think you could do that when there was bids on it. So it's really concerning. Now, I'm not sure what that means, right? Because if eBay's authenticity guarantee ends up saying that the card was trimmed, but the auction title doesn't say it was trimmed, what do they do then? Right? Like, it's just a really weird one. It's almost like perhaps they're trying to take advantage of the buyer. They're trying to change it so they can't question it later on, which I think is ridiculous, right? Because at the end of the day, this person could complain and get their money back from eBay. That just seems like incredibly unethical and disingenuous, and again speaks to some of the fuckery, and apologies, I said I tried to avoid the F word before, but it's kind of some of the fuckery that PROBSTEIN are trying to do, right? They're really disingenuous, really unethical, and in all honesty, you need to avoid them like the plague. We can't be having things like this in the hobby. That's honestly disgusting. Now, it could very much be that this is a different auction. Maybe that's why it's not there anymore. But I don't think that is the case. It looks like they've just removed it from the title. I just don't like it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This stuff is like honestly disgusting, and it's so prevalent within the hobby these days. I hate it so much because there's so much in the hobby, so much money in the hobby, I should say, that there's people trying to take advantage left, right, and center. I freaking hate it, and we need it gone because it's not a lot of fun, and it's just incredibly unfortunate. I think eBay is going to be stepping in here, but watch this space, because if they don't, this is a huge can of worms. And something that's incredibly dodgy. This is like so unethical. It's borderline ridiculous. So that's sort of it. Let me know your thoughts down below on any of the points I talked about today. Apologies for the video cutting with my coughing fit. Yeah, COVID's not fun, so send me some well wishes. But yeah, I hope you liked the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on any of the points we discussed. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.